Alright, I'm back with the Untouched Mark II here and do a quick look over it and go over some of the tools I'll be using to restore this rifle to its former glory. So things you're going to need, I like these screwdriver sets. This one was actually, I think it was like 15 bucks on Amazon, it's pretty cheap. But it comes with a variety of these really nice screw heads that really fit these screws well. You got to get a really tight fit on the screws, otherwise you'll risk damaging them when you open it up. The standard screwdrivers like kind of come to a point, whereas these just sort of come to a set width. So it just really grabs the screws a lot easier and you'll tell the difference. You're going to want some picks. Nice brass brush, these are really cheap as well off Amazon. Some really fine steel wool, either 000 or 40 grade. Got some brass punches, brass hammer. These are really useful for getting all the pins out without damaging them. Some pipe cleaners. I use a 50 caliber rifle bore snake. Really grabs it really well and pulls all the crud out. I got a 28 gauge brass brush. Some long cotton swabs. This is really nice to kind of get into the hard to reach places. I use the Hops lubricating oil. It's really good at penetrating through the grease. Croyl's even better, but I just don't seem to have any at the time. But it's just a very good mix for this. And then you use a butane torch. It's really good at heating up places like the middle barrel band here and the stock butt plate screws here, and getting those loose. They're really gummed up in crud. I always recommend the first thing that you do is just make sure that this weapon's not loaded, because that would cause potentially a catastrophic result. So I just take a cleaning rod and, you know, the length of the barrel down to the breech is roughly the whole length of a cleaning rod. So you should be able to stick this all the way down the barrel. If it stops about here, that's a bad sign. Okay. So there's nothing loaded in this weapon. It's definitely dirty, but you can see it's very soft, which is good. The soft grease down the bore is a lot easier to clean than the hardened grease. And I always just like having paper towels handy, and it's nice to have a good garage sink next to your workspace. And I always recommend laying down, like I have, some paper or plastic tarp like this, just to keep your work area clean. It really makes cleanup easier. You just put your used items there and wrap it all up and throw it away. I always wear gloves, and when I start spraying, I always put on one of these masks. So the first thing I want to do is I want to better look at this marking, so I'm going to spray the front of this receiver down here, let that sit. I'm also going to spray certain trouble spots, like right here on the middle band, just a little bit here around this punch right here. You don't want to put too much, you don't want to swell the wood. Then I'm going to put a little bit on the butt plate, rub that in, a little bit on the trigger, just some of the metal parts. And I like to just let this sit for a while. A little here on this screw. Any screws or parts you're going to have to disassemble, it's always good to just give it a little bit of soaking in this. Really helps loosen this stuff up. You can spray some down the top here. That'll actually work its way into the action of the weapon. I don't like cleaning the wood until I've taken it apart. Sometimes this grease can actually help protect the wood while you're working on it by catching all the excess overspray. And you accidentally get a little scratch, it might scratch the grease instead of the wood. So that's always a good thing to look at. So we'll let this sit for a little while, and then let me get some steel wool. I do want to take a look at this marking a little better. So I'm just going to gently take this very, very fine steel wool. This is 40 grade, and just very gently rub it on the really tough spots. Yeah, and you can tell this stuff's hardened a bit over the many years of storage, so this is going to have to just sit longer to let this kind of work its way in. But once you've wiped it down and it's sat long enough, you can already start seeing the results. I mean, this really just takes it right off, and yeah, that marking is really starting to show nicely now. Yeah, you can see that that's really just starting to come out now. But I'm going to let this sit for a little while and start rubbing some of that steel wool on there. I'm going to definitely hit this part with a brass brush, get some of the crud out of there, and hopefully I can get it out. If you can't get the screw out, you can always tap out the pin here that retains it and then tap this off the weapon, but that can be challenging depending on how tight this is, as well as how rotted that cross pin is. It might do more damage to the stock tapping that out. But I'm going to go start working on this, and then I'll check back in a little bit.